my sure to please cravings, which was lasagna. And I'm pretty sure that everybody has a craving at some point for a lovely, gooey, cheesy lasagna.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah.
And so I make mine with spaghetti squash, of course, one of my favorite pasta alternatives. So I'm starting with the meat sauce, and I have some ground turkey in here, but you can use any ground meat that you like. Ground beef would also be wonderful. And I'm just gonna cook it up until it's just browned. And Sean, while I'm doing this, I'll have you make the cheese sauce.
Okay.
So to the bowl, you can add 1 cup of cottage cheese. That's a great swap out for ricotta. It's a little bit lighter on calories, high in protein. You'll never know the difference for the taste or the texture.
Okay.
1 egg, a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese.
Okay.
And then save that shredded cheese for the top of the lasagna. And then to this meat sauce, when it's about 3/4 of the way done cooking, I'm gonna add my seasonings. So I have a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Turn the heat up a little bit, just to medium-high, just to finish cooking it off. And then I'm gonna add 1 jar of your favorite marinara sauce. So this is really simple. And I like this lasagna because it really does have all the layers of a traditional lasagna. We just swap out the noodles for spaghetti squash.
How's this look?
That looks wonderful. So Sean, what are you most excited for about meeting our son for the first time?
Well, I think I'm most excited to take him to the golf course. It's one thing that Maddie has not really loved to do with me yet, as she loves everything else I love, but the golf course, she's a little indifferent to. So.
Yeah, Maddie is truly a girly girl.
Yes.
She is like, loves her Barbies, her dolls, all things pink and glitter.
And unicorns and everything else. So.
That's right. And so when we found out we were having a boy, what was your first kind of thought?
Shock. I think we both expected to have another girl. That's just the way it seems to be going in our family, is everybody who's had a girl has another girl, and everybody who's had a boy has another boy. So
yep,
we were kind of really expecting a girl, and then when we got the news it was a boy, we were both thrown for a loop.
Speaking of golf, the way that we found out that it was a boy is Sean hit a golf ball on Christmas Day.
She finally let me. Yes, she finally let me.
Yes.
So.
Well,
I wanted to do it for Maddie, but
yeah. Well, our first pregnancy, we found out the gender on Christmas Day again, and so I'm thinking it's snowing outside. Who really wants to go outside in the snow? And so this year it was a little bit milder, so we decided to do the golf ball. Yeah. And we all saw the blue, and Maddie was really praying for a sister.
Yes.
Because, again, she has all boy cousins. So she was saying every night, "Dear God, I thank you for my little sister." And so Sean and I said, we just pray that this is a little sister. So when he hit the golf ball and it was blue, we just all shook our heads and laughed, because we're all thinking about Maddie and all those prayers for a sister. And you know, the first thing she did was she kind of ran and she kind of hid.
Yeah, she was a little quiet.
She was quiet. She didn't really want to talk to anyone, and we were all thinking, this is
it
not
felt
like
very
Maddie.
mature for her age.
Yes, it was almost like a teenage girl that was kind of just didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we finally got her to open up, and you know, it took a little bit of time, but now she's loving baby Oliver in my belly. She's kissing him and hugging him and tickling him.
And she's been full practice mode with every baby in our house, tucking in and dressing and everything.
So I layered 1 layer of the spaghetti squash in, so about half of the spaghetti squash. What I like to do is, if you have a really big spaghetti squash, then you'll be good with just 1. But if you have 2 smaller or medium, you kind of want to have 2 spaghetti squash for this recipe, because it used quite a bit for that bottom layer. So then on top of the spaghetti squash, we're gonna add our meat sauce. And then we'll do half of the cheese sauce.
Half of this?
So yep, Sean, you can come over here. And if you've never used a spaghetti squash, it's very simple.
Do you want me to just pour it on?
Just kind of like dollop it in dollops. Yep, there you go. And then spread it with your spoon. And if you've never used a spaghetti squash, it's really simple. There's a lot of great, really simple recipes on Dashing Dish using the spaghetti squash where I explain how to use them. But basically, you just pierce it with a knife a few times, Microwave it for about 10 minutes until it's tender, scrape the seeds out, and then scrape the strands out. And that looks great.
Looks good.
Then I'm basically just gonna repeat the layers. So just like a typical lasagna. And I could say that I could eat this just about every single day while I'm pregnant. I even did eat it in my first trimester when I was not feeling so great and kind of didn't know what to eat. This is something that really just sounded good all the time to me, which is pretty rare. So I definitely made this on repeat. I'm still making it and loving it. I think I'll eat it pretty much my whole pregnancy. So it'll be interesting to see.
I have a question for you. Is there anything in pregnancy that you've eaten that you can't eat after you're pregnant?
Not really tastes or food. I would say more smells.
Okay.
I definitely had,
yeah, you had some smell aversions.
Some smell aversions that I can't stand certain candles or smells, even now, from my first pregnancy with Maddie. So that's really just about the only thing. So now you can finish it off with that cottage cheese layer. And a lot of times when you make lasagna with vegetables, you'll notice that, especially zucchini, it's a little bit watery when you bake it up. This one really isn't watery because the spaghetti squash is layered in between, so it really does all just bake up really nicely. Okay, and then great, you're just gonna spread that cheese layer on, and then we can top it with the extra cheese.
Okay.
Doesn't this look good?
Looks so good.
So we're gonna put this in the oven, 425 degrees for about 30 minutes, just until the top is bubbly. You don't need to cover it at all.